She's a relationship coach. She is a certified meditation and mindfulness teacher. She says, I help you create happy and fulfilled relationships with yourself and others through meditation and mindfulness. So, ma'am, could you please enlighten us for the topic?
Of course, of course. So, do you have the presentation on here, or should I share my screen? Ah, perfect. Perfect, great. Well, thank you so much, first of all, for having me here. I'm really excited to be here. I know we've been in contact already before. We've done an Instagram live before as well together, and I really love all that you're doing, and I feel really honored to be here today and to speak about emotional health and how we can take better care of ourself. So first of all, the one thing I think that is probably most important in that topic is how can we actually see that we need some self-care, right? Because oftentimes we get caught up in our daily life and things just happen, we're on autopilot and we don't even realize that all we need right now is some self-care. So first of all, let's talk about how we can see it. And I always like to divide it into some physical signs and emotional signs. And of course, the physical signs are a little bit easier to see, whereas the emotional signs really need some self-reflection sometimes to understand what we actually are going through. So maybe let's start with the physical signs. So one thing that always really is a very strong indicator that we might need some self-care is our immune system, right? So maybe if you feel that you frequently are getting sick, maybe it's just like, minor colds, or maybe can be anything really. But if you see that this happens a lot and that you're very reactive to the outside from your immune system perspective, this is definitely a sign. And I really speak from personal experience. This was how I first realized that I needed some self-care, because I used to have like a very busy job, and I was traveling a lot, but I really enjoyed it. I thought I was living the best life. And the only way that I could actually see that I was putting too much stress on myself was that my immune system really didn't work at all anymore. And I really became quite sick very often, at some point for a really long period of time. So if this happens to you, this is a clear sign that you need to prioritize self-care. Another important point is have a look at your sleep. So maybe in general, you're always feeling a little bit tired, a little bit sleepy, or maybe another big sign is that maybe you have difficulties falling asleep, or you always wake up super early, or maybe you oversleep even. That's also another sign. So just check in on your sleeping rhythm, on your sleeping habits. If there's something off there, it's also a big sign that you might need some self-care. And some people can even get some skin problems if you have very sensitive skin. For example, me personally, I always get like some irritations on my hands or something. This is also very common if you're having too much going on in your life, and your body wants to tell you to slow down. And there are some skin irritations that you have that you usually wouldn't have. This is also a big sign. And then low energy, right? So I think we all know that feeling when we just wake up, and already when we wake up, we don't really feel like we have the energy to do anything. And this is normal. This is okay sometimes, depending on what we're going through in life. But if this occurs very often, it's also a red flag that we should closer examine. Let's say it like that. And oftentimes, because we're so tense all the time, it can even affect our muscles. So maybe if you often have like a neck or a back pain, this is a sign. Or in general, like, I mean, maybe for some people it's the neck or the back, but maybe for other people it could even be like the stomach or any other area of the body. Watch out for any type of pains that are not really, yeah, like you can't really explain them kind of. So this could be an indicator that you might need some self-care. Headaches, same thing. I mean, headaches, I would say, is even one of the most common ones, especially if we overwork ourselves. Of course, also related to sleeping habits. Yeah, and then actually one very common sign as well is eye problems, any type of problems with the eye. So this can even lead to getting a decreased vision. So if you feel you can't really see properly anymore, this is a very urgent sign that you need to prioritize yourself again. And yeah, and some people, depending also, of course, on how our body works, can also get like stomach or digestive issues. And in another sign is also if you experience a lower sex drive, for example, or for girls, it's also you can really have a look at your menstrual cycle, and if maybe there's something off, something not so regular, this can also be a strong indicator that you might need to prioritize some self-care right now. So these are the physical signs, so fairly easy to spot them, right? Like this is really, I would say, kind of like an easier indicator that you need some self-care. But then we also have some emotional signs, and they, like, it doesn't always manifest in physical signs. So it's also important to take care of yourself and reflect a little bit and see if there's any emotional signs. And emotional signs could be, for example, that you're very moody, you know, like you might cry a lot, you might feel emotional, maybe anxious, worried, you get snappy to the people around you, you find it really difficult maybe to focus, to concentrate on some important tasks. Like it can be, for example, as easy as doing work or concentrating on a conversation that you have. So if you realize like your mind is not really in the present anymore, but always wandering to some specific topics, that's a very strong sign. And in general, just if you realize that your attitude becomes a little bit more negative, pessimistic, that your self-esteem is decreasing. So this is also like, for me, for example, this is like my biggest sign. If I realize that I don't really feel confident anymore, my self-worth is quite low, or yeah, I don't really feel the self-love anymore, I know, okay, now it's time to prioritize myself and do some self-caring exercises. Yeah, and then also I think this also goes a little bit with moody, so feeling irritable, or often like find it difficult to tolerate other people's behavior. So this also goes with patience, right? If we're feeling a little bit impatient, it's also a signal. And it can also, like, I mean, at some point it will go so far that you don't really feel motivated at all anymore. You don't really get joy anymore in the things that you once enjoyed. And you really don't really feel like doing anything anymore. Same with making decisions. It's really hard for you to make any type of decisions. And if you're working on like a creative project, it might be really difficult for you to get new ideas. And then this is already, I would say, at a later stage. But also if you often feel lonely, but at the same time, you don't have any motivation to meet people, this is also a very strong sign that there's something out of balance inside of you. So yeah, these were the emotional signs. So it's really important to be receptive and open to both sides. And of course, the physical signs manifest themselves easier, or like they're easier to see, but at the same time, sometimes they take longer. So if you can already spot some emotional signs, it's really important also to react to them right away. Okay, can you please go to the next slides? Okay, yeah. So what can we do in that case? That was the next question that I was asked. And to be honest, what has helped my clients the most, and also myself in the past, is to do like kind of a quick fix where we don't have to think a lot. And this goes back to biology. It is simply activate your happiness hormones. So there's 4 different happiness hormones that are released depending on what we do. And the good thing about activating these hormones is that we don't even need to take a lot of time, you know, to reflect or to think about what would be good for me right now. But it's like a simple action step. So you can just right away do it without spending too much time or reflection on yourself. So here I put the 4 happiness hormones. We first of all have dopamine, which is the reward chemical. Then we have oxytocin, which is the love hormone, serotonin, which is the mood stabilizer, and the endorphins. I think they're probably the most known. They're the painkiller also. So how can we release these hormones? Dopamine is the one that is released whenever we complete a task or whenever we do something new, whenever we do some self-care activities, when we eat some nice food, or when we celebrate little wins. So here it's really all about the reward. Oxytocin is released whenever we create a connection with people or animals. So could be like just playing or cuddling with a dog or with a baby, holding hands with someone, hugging someone, or giving a compliment, or even just if you don't have anybody around right now, it can even also be just doing an act of kindness with a stranger. So for example, you go to the supermarket and you hold the door for someone. And then we have serotonin. Here, the mood is kind of stabilized when we meditate, for example, when we do some physical exercise like running or swimming or cycling. But also here, the contact to nature is really important. So it could be like a walk in nature or simply being exposed to sunlight. Yeah, and then the 4th happiness hormone is the endorphins. And I think we all know endorphins are released when we laugh a lot, when we smile a lot. So even if we don't feel like that in the moment, just smiling for like a minute, just really time yourself with a phone or something and smile for 1 minute, you will already feel that you also overall feel better because endorphins are being released. You can also stimulate endorphins with essential oils, or simply watching something funny like a YouTube video or a comedy. It also dark chocolate, actually, if you like chocolate, dark chocolate is really helpful. And in general as well, exercising. So yeah, the happiness chemical is really an easy tool how to very fast prioritize our self-care when we need it. And then let's go to the next slide, because so this is like a tool that works for everyone. But in addition to that, of course, everybody has their own self-care practice that works for them. And I think it's really important to know that self-care means different things to everyone. So for me and my clients, what has been very practical and helpful is just sit down one day when you feel good, when you have a good day, and write down a list of all the things that make you happy, that you know you do them and you immediately feel good, you know. And then put that list somewhere where it's easily accessible. So it could be in the drawer next to your bed, or it could be you can pin it on the mirror in the bathroom, but just so that you have it easily accessible. And I say this because in the moments where we actually see the signs that we need self-care, we're oftentimes in a position where it is really hard for us to realize what we actually want or what we actually enjoy doing or what actually makes us happy, because self-care is all about doing things that make us happy, right? And as I said, like some of the signs also that we need self-care is that we don't really feel motivated and we don't really have energy. We don't really feel like doing anything actually. So that's why it's really important to have that list somewhere already, created at a time when we actually feel really good and happy. And so then whenever we feel like a bit down and like we really see the signs that we need self-care, we have that list and we just blindly follow it. Even if we don't feel like doing anything, even if we don't have the energy, we know we created that list at a time where we knew this would bring us happiness. So we just choose one point of that from that list and we just do it. And I guarantee you, it really helps. It really will help you to practice self-care, and it will instantly make you feel better. So like I said, it's very individual, but I wrote down a list here, which is kind of like a combined list that I created from all the participants of my last self-worth workshop that I did, because I think it can give us all some great ideas as to what could be your self-care practices. So for example, I'll just share them with you. One person said, take a walk in nature. So remember, this was also related to the happiness hormones. It's actually when serotonin is released, so it definitely makes sense. Another one is writing down 3 things that went well today and why. So this is a great exercise that we can do at the end of the day, and it will help us to release actually the happiness hormone, as well, the dopamine, the reward hormone. And it is also a really great tool to, in general, increase our confidence and be grateful. And yeah, another one is call a friend, always really helpful, I guess, like just to be social. It can help a lot of times. Going for a coffee on a cold winter day, if you have it cold wherever you are. Otherwise, maybe you want to have a refreshing juice or something like that in the heat. Cleaning the apartment can be really rewarding sometimes for people. Preparing a nice meal if you like to cook. Writing yourself a self-love letter. Then writing down all the things that you're grateful for. Maybe you already write a gratitude journal every day. Maybe just use that time to write an extra entry in there. Then taking care of your plants. This goes back again to the happiness hormone serotonin that is released here because we're in contact with nature. Do a workout. Again, serotonin and endorphins are released. Maybe if you have a beach close by, go to the beach, breathe the fresh air, take a dip in the water maybe. Create a vision board, because this will really make you excited about the future. Some people also said go into a freshly made bed after taking a shower, or maybe just not putting an alarm the next day and sleeping in. If you like music or playing an instrument, play an instrument. Take a long shower or a bath. Maybe just a hug or a smile. Getting a massage, especially maybe if your love language is physical touch, that can be really, really a really great self-care practice for you. Meditation, of course, reading a book, doing yoga. An interesting one is making a social media detox, or in general also a digital detox, maybe for like a day or a week. Don't use any screens if you can. Maybe painting, creating art, lighting a candle, listening to music, watching your favorite TV show, and spending quality time with your loved ones or eating some healthy food. So I hope you got some nice inspiration here, and that you can just pick some of these and add, maybe create your own list. I think it's really helpful to have one. I don't know how how I would survive these days without a list like that. It's really helpful. And yeah, maybe you got some inspiration here. I hope you did. And let me know if you have any questions or any